Hello everyone, how are you all doing? And a very warm welcome to a new video. And yes indeed, F1 2019 for the first time on the channel, F1 2019. And it is round 10 of the Ziggo Pro League on the channel. So after round 9, which of course was still on F1 2018, we arrive at Silverstone, which is by far my most favorite track on the entire calendar. And it is also on F1 2019. Standings on the left hand side of your screen as always. We need to make up after the poor result from Austria, of course, and I think that we can easily do that with a new game and also on my most favorite track on the calendar, like I said before. In practice we did a 127.3, 127.2 thereabout. That's really the time that we want to be aiming for, and honestly that time should be on the board. We've currently got a 127.8 on the board. But like I said, we really want to have that 127.2, 127.3 thereabout. So final round of qualifying, there's quite a bit of pressure actually on this run, because we're currently in P5 and with quite a sloppy lap time. So we really need to improve on that, and let's see how it goes then. Third sector then, quite a technical sector with these two slow corners. You want to aim for the exit right here, got a alright exit there. And currently 400s up on our time, but this middle sector then is really paradise for a racing driver. So fast, so flowing. A bit of a mistake through there, you can see we immediately drop a little bit of time. This corner, trying to cut back to the apex, get on the throttle and straighten up the car as much as possible. Because you want to focus once again on the exit as a straight follows. As we head down into Cop's corner, and this is really now where paradise starts. A little bit far off the apex, could have been slightly better, currently roughly a 10th up. But this is really where we can still make up a lot of time. Maggots, Baggots and Chapel. Here we go, down another gear. And there we go, down to 5th gear. On the throttle quite early, gear is wide open then. And you can see that the time is coming up and coming up and coming up. Almost 3 tenths up now. And 1.5 tenths down on Jarno Opmeer, who also is very, very fast on F1 2019. What else would you have expected? Through Stowe corner, getting a lot of time once again. And then the final 2 corners, well 3 technically. Get hard on the power on exit here. Make sure that you don't have wheel spin. Good exit, so once again getting a bit of time, and in the end a 127.384. So that's indeed what we wanted to be aiming for, and in the end we got it again. Like I said, a bit of pressure there on that final run, but in the end 127.3, I was very happy with that because that was the maximum for me. But have you seen who is on pole position and with what kind of lap time? A 126.907. I'm not gonna spend any time on that, because it's ridiculous, and there was no way in a million years that I was gonna get that. That lap was already pretty good. I think with an absolute monster of a lap time, I could have perhaps gotten a 127.1 and then a high 127.1, but 126, no, forget about it. That's ridiculous. So here we are then, 5 red lights for the first round in F1 2019, and it is underway right now after that qualifying session. Pretty happy with that qualifying session, like I said before. Now we want to be focusing on the race. A little bit of rain predicted as well towards the end of the race, so we'll see how that goes as we immediately drop the position to Floris Wise, who honestly overtook us outside of the track limits, but whatever. Heading into the second corner now, and a bit of contact there with Floris Wires. I felt like we were squeezed a little bit on apex there, but whatever. Losing a position on the start, and the start was not too bad if you compared us to Jarno. But obviously Floris around the outside could swing quite a bit of speed into the first turn and got around our outside. I said it was turn 2 by the way, but it was in turn 3 where we had a little bit of contact. So out of that top 3, it really looked like Floris had the best start. I think Jarno had the worst start. I think we got slightly better off the line compared to Jarno. Couldn't make a move into turn 1 because he had that sealed and covered. And there we are then behind Floris Wise. And also we need to pay attention to Roy Arnouts. And funnily enough, this entire top 4 is made out of esports drivers apart from us. So we have Jarno, who's an esports driver for Renault. Floris has recently been picked by Haas, and Roy Arnouts behind, I believe, is still I think he's still a Williams esports driver. So we're in the sandwich of esports drivers. Congratulations to all of them for their accomplishments, of course. And we'll see what we can do from this position. Lap 1 has been completed, and we can immediately see that Jarno is pulling a bit of a gap, and honestly I wasn't surprised to see that. Like I said before, Jarno's pace in qualifying already was just blistering. To be completely honest, I don't exactly believe that that is purely down to the driving. That may sound a little bit arrogant, but I think there's also some things which are setup related. But you know, you need to figure that out, of course, as a driver, and he did it by, I don't know, maybe practicing or putting a lot of time into it. Whatever the reason is, he has found something that is working very well for him, and you know, you can only give props to that. What I did not expect though was Floris's pace, because you can see on the minimap Floris and Jarno are relatively close to each other. I was right now driving at my limit. This was really all I had to give, and you can see that we have dropped from the top 2, and actually we are being pressurized by Roy from behind. Now the good news is, it is at least in the top 4, you can see a pattern, because the top 2 is close to each other, and then the next 2 cars are also close to each other, and then comes the rest of the field from P5 onwards. So if Roy overtakes us here, we are at least able to comfortably stay in P4. At least that's what my conclusion was after the first 10 laps. But my conclusion also was that Roy Arnouds was faster than us at this stage. So out of this entire top 4, we have the worst pace at the moment, and honestly that was quite worrying to see. We qualified in P2. Okay, I expected Jarno to be fast both in quali and in race, but also Floris and Roy, they seem to have the upper hand on us if you know, are realistic. And here we can see already Roy going for an attacking maneuver on the inside of Stowe corner. We swing around the outside, need to keep it within the track limit as well, which we did so nicely in order to defend. So you know, this is really the moment now where we start to feel pressurized by Roy behind. And honestly, I was saving a bit of my tires as well, because I wasn't exactly sure what the tire condition would be like from the top 2. As we hear from the engineer now that Roy has actually got a time penalty. We've currently got 1 warning at this stage of the race. So if you know this game, it is still the same story. After 3 warnings you get a 3-second time penalty it is actually. So Roy actually has got a time penalty already, and we have only got 1 warning. And honestly, that could be quite a... As Roy goes for another move. Once again, cannot make it work though, so we defend nicely from that. What I wanted to say though, you know, those time penalties, if you are being smart with them, then it's like another weapon that you have got in a race, you know. So Roy has got already a 3-second time penalty, we have got none at this moment in time. So you need to keep that in mind as well. And honestly, it can calm you down a little bit, you know, if you are really in a hot battle, but you know that the car around you has got a time penalty, you know, why would you risk it? That kind of stuff. So lap 11 of the race, and Roy is putting more and more pressure on our shoulders, having to go into overtake mode on our ERS and rich mixture on the fuel. And still Roy is going to swing it around the outside quite nicely, being squeezed on the apex, not a lot that we can do. He does overtake us once again, just like Floris, outside of track limits, but whatever, we're not gonna cry about that really. Roy got past us there, lap 11 of the race. We have been dropped down into P4. So Cas Hovenhout now behind us, and the gap to him is roughly, what would it be, 5-6 seconds thereabouts. So again, like I said, we are now in P4, but we can still focus ahead of us. And with Roy being now past us, we could use the DRS in order to still stick with him. As we all know, DRS is quite a powerful tool. Lap 40 of the race, and Roy already pits, and that was quite surprising to see, to be honest. That was earlier than I expected. I think the planned pit stop for this race is in lap 16. Now who else pitted? I don't think the top 2 pitted, and indeed they did not. Gap to Floris 5.2 seconds, we skipped to the start of lap 18, and it is 5.6. And there are a few drops of rain already out on track. And this is exactly why I stayed out. Lap 16 was indeed the planned pit stop. Lap 14 was already quite early, and I believe around that time already, so before lap 14, we got some messages from the engineer that there was rain on the way. And I did not expect this, because before the race there was of course this screen where you could see the rain prediction. And it said that it was most likely going to rain towards the end of the session and towards the end of the race. But it is not even halfway throughout the race. We're not even halfway throughout the race, and it is already starting to rain.
We're still happy that we're on the right tyres at the moment.
It does put us in a good position, at least compared to Roy, because Roy has already pitted. and he pitted for another set of slick tires, of course. So he's gonna have to pit again, and effectively Roy is now a pit stop down on us, as he also will have to pit for intermediate tires quite soon. I'm not sure if it is already wet enough. You can see here that we are starting to lose grip throughout that middle sector, but I'm kind of waiting for that sign that says DRS disabled, because once that comes up, then you know that it is wet enough. But we'll also pay attention to the minimap and see what the top 2 is going to do. Although in Stowe Corner right here you can see it, not a lot of grip. And I saw that the top 2 was going into the pit lane, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the same. And I think that this is the right call. Like I said, I was waiting for that sign that says DRS disabled.
Heavy rainfall on track in about 10 minutes.
Okay, engineer says that there's even gonna be heavy rain. Nonetheless, we will go for the intermediate tire. Flores has also done that. One thing, by the way, guys, maybe you guys can help me. In F1 2018, when you would come into the pit lane, the moment you enter the pit lane, there it says by the way DRS disabled, so it seems like this is the right choice. But the moment you enter the pit lane, you could not switch tire compounds, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If I am mistaken, please let me know. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in F1 2018, once you came into the pit lane, that was it. You know, you had to pick your tires before you came into the pit lane. And the moment you entered the pit lane, the tire choice would be locked and you could not change it anymore. Is that still the same in F1 2019? Because I'm not sure. Because that is really something that was pretty annoying. Because, you know, this is also something, you know, while driving, you need to adjust so many things over the course of a lap. Of course, you know, you shift with the gears, you know, that's all normal. It's all part of the deal. But you also need to pay attention to your fuel and mainly the ERS. I have no clue how many times a lap you're actually switching fuel and ERS, and you're almost like pressing a button like the whole lap. The whole lap you're just pressing buttons to manage the fuel and to manage the ERS. You know, and then you don't always have time to do other business, like, I don't know, check your tires even, because that also, you know, you also need to press a button for that. So basically what I'm saying is, down the straights you're adjusting your ERS and your fuel, and then if you want to do something else like check your tires or whatever, that also takes time, and sometimes there's not enough time to do that, to check that, as we are now in the lead, by the way, because the top 2 has pitted for wet. So that's quite interesting. We're staying now, by the way. Is that the right choice?
Rain to stay a while. Doesn't look like it's moving anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's hard to say if inters
right.
or wets are better right now.
I was having doubts right now whether we should go back, should go onto the wet tire as well. Let's actually have a look. But what I want to say, I'll finish up the story. Now, at some tracks, like at Monza, it's not a problem, because at Monza you have very long straights. But for example, at Monaco, you know, there's barely any time to do things outside of ERS and fuel management. So if you then also need to press buttons and select the tire for your next pit stop and whatever, it sometimes is a little bit, you know, too much. So that's why I'm asking, can you also change it in the pit lane on F1 2019? Anyway, I took way too long to explain that, but whatever. There's, by the way, also, this is also a thing. That's another question to you guys, if you guys know it. I don't know if it is because of the platform you're racing on, or whether it's due to the wheel that you have got, but some wheels, or some platforms, I don't know what it is, seem to be able to change ERS mode faster. So when I am changing my ERS, I'm having to like press a button, wait, I don't know, a second, press again, wait a second, press again. I cannot spam the button and it will change right away. You know, the people who race this game will probably know what I mean. I think, but is that due to platform or is that due to the wheel that you have got? I don't know. If you could guys could answer that, because for example, I know that Jarno can spam his button for ERS, for example, and it will respond instantly, whereas I can press it once every second or so. I don't know, but whatever. We skip to the start of lap 29. Let's focus on this race again, because it is getting quite interesting here. It is rainy conditions. Like I said, I was having doubts whether I should pit for wets or inters, and when we actually did that one lap longer on the intermediate tire, I think we only lost like 2 or 3 tenths in the middle sector to Jarno, which is honestly not that bad. But you know, I asked on the radar or the engineer what the radar looked like, you know, what the weather was gonna look like. Oh shit, as we have saved car now. Okay, that's quite interesting. Anyway, I was asking on the radio, you know, how about the weather? And he said, okay, there's heavy rain and it will stay for quite a long while.
Okay, gap ahead is 1.3 seconds. They're on fresh wets. Their tyres are 6 laps old. The time last lap was a 2.1. They have a time penalty of 9.0.
9 seconds. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. So Flores right now has got 9 seconds in terms of time penalties, but he pitted previous lap. And then Jarno and I were also like, okay, we're also gonna have some. This is a really chaotic race right now. Remember in lap 29 I was having doubts whether, or lap 28 I had doubts whether to switch to the inters or the wets. I went onto the wets, but I only took 2 or 3 laps advantage from them, benefit, and now we're having to pit again for the inters because Flores pitted previous lap and we're gonna be pitting this lap. And remember I asked the engineer, you know, how about the rain condition, and he said okay, full wet conditions for a long time still or something like that. He said as we are being held here very long. So it's like, okay, you know, I made my choice based on that message, and I thought, okay, I need to go to the wet tire then. But then I think roughly at this stage he also said, okay, it was going to clear up. So we went onto the intermediate tire. I have no clue what others did, but there are a lot of, as Ian Bastijn also pitched now for Inter, so well, he's gonna be losing out a lot on that because the safety car has disappeared. But you know, there was all kind of stuff going on. Currently we are in P7 behind Jan Oldmeier, who was also going to the intermediate tire. Floris Weyers, who pitted 1 lap before us to go to the intermediate tire, is somehow behind us. I had no clue what was going on in this race. I believe the people who are ahead of us have saved a pit stop or something like that. Or they pitted right as the safety car came out. It's a really technical story right now, but man, whatever. People who follow racing will know that as soon as the safety car comes out and you pit, you have an advantage because it saves a lot of time. It almost gives a free pit stop. Almost gives a free pit stop. It saves you a lot of time. And we pitted under the safety car itself, where the field was bunched up quite a bit, so you lose more positions because of that. However, I believe that we are on the right tire right now, but honestly, I should not have pitted for the wet tire in lap 28. If we did not do that, I think we would be leading this group at this time. Of course, we would, however, be on an old set of inters. So perhaps the right call, and I believe that that is what the top 5 has done, or most of the top 5, the right call would have been to take another set of intermediate tires right as the safety car came out. Right, you know, that same lap as the safety car came out, I think lap 32, that's really when we should have pitted. But we didn't. And then, under safety car conditions, Flores pitted. And Jano and I followed a lap later. And actually, there's already a lot of battling here going on. Lap 37 of the race, 15 laps to go. Flores Weyers on our inside, but completely forces us off the track. I was not happy with that at all, to be honest. But whatever, we lose a position to Flores Weyers, down into P8 now. There are still 15 laps to go in this race, and we are in P8. And honestly, this is quite worrying, because we know that we have the pace to at least be in the top 4. But currently we are in P8, and there's a lot of battling going on, of course, right here. And it's the same story for everyone, I believe. I believe everyone right now is on the intermediate tire. So we are then skipping to the end of lap 38. Jarno got by Tim Arts in the meantime. Flores Weyers is now attacking Tim Arts. If you remember previous lap, Flores Weyers pushed us outside of the track in the final corner. Right here, I'm gonna do it again, but this time we will have the inside line, because here we see it. It's like reversed roles from previous time. This time Flores is on the outside, and still he makes contact with us while we are on the inside. I mean, you know, come on, man. It's the same position in 2 consecutive lap times. Once we were on the outside and he pushed us on the outside of track limits, and the next lap we were actually on the inside and he squeezed us on apex. I mean, yeah, I was quite frustrated, to be honest, with that. I thought it was pretty poor driving, poor racecraft. Lap 41 then, Flores Weyers making his move on Tim Arts, and by the way, it took so long for Flores to get by Tim Arts. And now that he has made the move, we immediately have to follow on the inside of Cop's corner, very close to touching the rear end of Flores Weyers there, but able to make that move on Tim Arts as well. And now, look on the minimap. Jarno has completely flown off. And, you know, we were stuck the whole time behind Floris and Tim. Floris had quite a rough time getting by Tim Arch. And when we wanted to get by Floris, we were either squeezed or pushed off the track. So, you know, not happy with that, but you need to forget it and focus on the remainder of the race. There are still roughly 11 laps to go as we skip to lap 45. We have now caught up to P5 Sven van der Brug, and we need to get by him as soon as possible as well. Here we go. As the engineer says that it's gonna be drying up quite soon. This is, by the way, a chance to get by Floris Weiss as well. On the outside, he brakes late, so we're gonna try to do the switchback. He actually goes so deep into the corner that his car starts to slide. He is still on our outside, which will become the inside for the next corner. Here we go, he's again going deep, so again we're gonna do the switchback. And once again here the switchback as well. And here I took a decision. I did not want to go alongside him once again, so I kind of held back on the throttle, because I got a better exit because of the switchback. But I did not want to go alongside once again through that corner with him, because I did not trust him. Because the 2 times that I did that, look at this by the way, this is ridiculous. On the outside here for turn 3, should be able to make the move done. Inside line for turn 4, he's really defending hard. But I think we're able to make the move in turn 4, and yes we are. So now we need to try to pull away a little bit and make that gap. So up to P5, but we did so much battling and it cost us a lot of time. And now actually we have lost 8 seconds to Jesse Post, and that's a long gap, really a big gap. What I wanted to say though, we went for the switchback in the second to last corner, as it's now DR's enabled, so it should be dry enough for inters actually, or sorry, for slicks. What I want to say though, I indeed took that switchback and I got earlier on the power because of that, but I feel like we could have made a move into that last corner. But the 2 times that I did that before with Floris, he either pushes off track or he squeezes on apex. In both situations there was contact and I did not want to risk it. So I held back on the throttle a little bit. I simply did not trust him, which is quite bad to be honest when you're racing against someone and you don't trust him because of his racecraft. But whatever, I'm not gonna talk negatively throughout the whole race, it's simply not worth it. I thought it was more smart, or smarter at least, to as we are indeed, everyone's going for slicks I think right now. As we indeed took it easy there, and I waited for a better chance, which indeed appeared already into turn 1 of the next lap as Floris started sliding all over the place. Able to take that place, and finally we are then in P5, but there's still so much work to do because honestly I really wanted to be on the podium. I feel like pace... Oh, come on. Pace-wise we deserved it, as we were being held in that pit lane quite long. Anyway, lap 47 on the race. 8 seconds now to Jesse Post. Remember it was 8.1 before. Conditions still a bit tricky. There was still some drizzle, as you can see. The track conditions were not optimal. Lap 48 we have now got Cas Hogenhout in front of us, who pitted 1 lap later. And the gap to him is 4.8. Let's see what we can do with him. We really want to try to close him down. I pushed as hard as I could in those last couple of laps. I was actually pretty happy with the pace on the slick tires. We indeed closed the gap to Cas Hogenhout, but I don't think it will be by enough. It is now 2.5 seconds. Lap 52 out of 52 in this race. 2.5 seconds. There's not much really that we can do because we're not gonna gain 2.5 seconds, I don't think, in the last lap. So there was a lot that happened in this race, and honestly, I really felt like that completely, you know, pace-wise we deserved a 3rd place. Or at least a 4th place, because Roy also had good pace, and of course we were in a battle with him. The mistake that I made was in lap 28 when we pitted for the wet tire. But of course I also could not smell that there was a safety car coming. So, you know, I need to, you know, I can somewhat accept that. And then after the safety car period, we need to be honest, the driver who did the best job after the safety car period was Jarno Opmeer, period. He took advantage of the situation, did the best that he could, and I believe he is going to win this race. And remember that we were in P8 or P7 even, and we were behind Jarno after the safety car. He got through the field very nicely, whereas Floris and I had a tough time really getting through the field, and it cost us a lot of time. Jarno Opmeer indeed takes the win and we will be finishing in P5. And I was hoping that somehow with time penalties, we have got 1 time penalty by the way, so 3 seconds worth of time penalties. I was hoping that we could jump positions because of the time penalties, and actually it seems like that is indeed the case, as we are being classified as P3 due to the penalties from Roy and from Cas. So due to that we still got P3, but 16.6 seconds behind Jarno, and that's too much if you consider that 15 laps before the end we were behind him. So there was so much going on in this race. I'll try to wrap up my thoughts quite quickly here because this video is already quite long. I believe in race conditions, dry conditions, the field is pretty close in terms of race pace, apart from the top 2 in this case, so Flores and Jarno. They had excellent pace. I think Roy also had a bit better pace than us, but after that I think the field is closer in terms of race pace than it was on F1 2018, at least for this race. Of course the rain came, and like I said before, we were not able to cut through the field as fast as Jarno did, for example. He deserved this win. He was by far the quickest. That time in qualifying still, I don't know how. With the setup that I have got, I think I could have tried to put in 1,000 hours and I would not have been able to get that 26. So he basically continues his streak from the races on F1 2018. Props to him, of course. As for ourselves, I quite like this game, F1 2019. It's very good in terms of handling. It's definitely a step up. I think there's still a lot for it in us. A lot in it for us, I should say. But I need to understand the different setup dynamics, and that is something that takes time. It is something that takes practice. There's quite a bit of time before we go into the next round, which is at Hockenheim, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's Germany. So I need to figure out, in the meantime, what the setup changes have got, what kind of influence they have got on the car and the behavior. And maybe if I can somehow find that out, then there's some more consistent podium finishes in it. And honestly, we don't need to look in front of us, because let's be honest, I don't know how I'm gonna catch up to Jarno without putting in 6 hours a day, which I'm simply not gonna do because I have a life outside of this. But we need to look behind, and we need to try to finish ahead of Roy, because I believe Roy is gonna be our main contestant in the championship. He is our direct rival, I feel like. So that is really where I'm having my focus at Roy, and I want to try to finish higher in the races than he does for the next, I don't know, 5 races or so. And then after the next 5 races we can again look where we are at, and if we perform really well in the next 5 races and there's a reason to be positive, then maybe we can think about a plan or a strategy on how to attack Jarno. And that's really how I see it, but for now we need to focus on Roy and trying to stabilize our second place in the championship. So those are my thoughts. I have a lot more thoughts, but you know, this video has already been way too long. I feel like this race was so eventful, I was struggling to keep up with the events that happened during the race. If you have got any questions on my thoughts during the race, or what happened during the race, or what the approach was during the race, or what happened even in the race, let me know in the comment section. Your comments are always very much appreciated, and so are your likes. Thanks so very much for that. If you have enjoyed this video as well, I'd sincerely appreciate a like. Maybe next time, if the race is a bit more boring, I can go into into my thoughts on the game a little bit more and how I feel like it has changed. But for now, I'm gonna have to close this video off because it has been too long already. Thanks all for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, I would sincerely appreciate like I said. I'll see you on the next video, which I think will take a little bit of time, because there's a bit of time in between Great Britain and Germany, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks all for watching. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.